Okay, today we are going to discuss a new topic. As you can see right here, the structure array. Okay, the structure array. Structure array is a specialized format in MATLAB that we can actually store all types of the data within this kind of array. Okay, I will show you some example to let you understand how to use a structure array and how to create a structure array. And after today's course, you will understand that for the DICOM information, we actually use the structure array a lot. Okay, so this is kind of the things that you should learn today. So you can see the subtitle right here. We are going to take the DICOM information as the example. And we will try to do so-called image contrast adjustment. We will learn what is the image contrast. And we will learn how to perform the adjustment for this kind of image contrast. Basically, this kind of the image contrast can help the reader to better understand the detail of the image. So this is the way that for the clinical doctors, they can diagnose the lesion or detect the lesion. Okay, so this is very important. So anyway, we're going to spend 2 hours on this topic. So for the second topic, you can see right here, the contrast adjustment. And a very important thing, you need to know what is so-called window center and what is the window width right here. Okay, you will learn this in the second part. If after the second part you don't understand these two things, then you have to, again, just visit my website. You can see the online video. And I'd like to remind you, if you feel you do have the difficulty to understand me through English, you can just visit my website because I have a video that you can revisit it. And most importantly, through YouTube, you will have chance to see the English subtitle. Okay, that is very easy. If you cannot follow me because I just speak too fast, let me show you. You can just visit my website. You can just, for example, you can go for the, for example, matrix. You don't really understand me, it's okay. You can just visit
In this week,
my
we are
video.
going to talk
I don't want
about
to hear myself, so I'm going to mute myself. But anyway, right here, here is a CC button right here, right? You can show the subtitle that is generated by the YouTube. And now you will have the chance to see, okay, if you don't really understand me, at least you can see something that what I'm talking about. And if you want, you can actually export the subtitle. So you can read through it, okay? So basically you have two choices to understand me, through listening or through reading. But basically I think through this kind of EMI course, you will have the chance to better understand how to use English to learn or to communicate with your classmates, okay? This is very important. So I think this is another chance, another way that you can participate in this EMI course. So just do remember, I provide this kind of the source to you. So you will have the chance not only review the course, but you may have a different way to understand me, okay? So anyway, this is just something that I want to mention right here. Okay, so let's come back to today's topic. Again, you can download all the materials and handout from my website. So if you didn't do this, just do it now, please. Download the week 5 materials. And do remember on zip the MI materials underline F5. And do switch the MATLAB current directory to this folder, okay? We will use the file and imaging inside. So anyway, let's start from the very first part. What is structure array? Okay, I have to say structure array is not only be used in MATLAB. You can also find a similar structure for different programming language. But today we are going to focus on MATLAB, of course. So let's think about this very first question. What can we store in an array? You can see here are some examples right here. Okay, I didn't take the control of your screen, so you can try it now. Actually, we have practiced this for several times. I can basically use the square brackets to declare an array, right? As you can see right here, I just put A equals, you can see the brackets within, you can see 1 to 2 to 30, right? That means I will get an array that starts from 1 ended by the 30 with the separation of 2 or with the increase of 2, right? You can just try it now. And you can see that for the second line right here, A with the parentheses right here, and you can see 9 right here. That means you are going to get the value for the 9th index of this array, okay? So you can try it right now. So for this example, you can easily find out that, of course, we can put numbers within this array. Of course, we can do that, okay? And for the second example right here, you can see I'm going to put some characters within this array. And as we mentioned before, if you try to put many characters within an array, we would call it a string array, okay, string array. So you can see the example right here. I try to use this quotation mark, right, quotation mark, to declare this kind of the string array. And you can see the string inside is this space is space, a space test, okay? Again, space itself is also a kind of the character, okay? So right here, you can see this is another type of the array. Actually, we store so many different characters inside, right? With this kind of array on hand, you can also do the get value operation right here. Okay, so I'm going to show you this example. Maybe it's a good time that I can take the control. So I can show you this, okay. I'm going to just copy the comment right here. Okay, so you can see A equals, this is a test, but of course you are using the quotation marks right here. So you are going to declare this kind of a string, you are going to assign this kind of a string into this variable A, right? So you can see I just assigned this kind of a string into the A, okay? And you can do the get value things right here. I try to get the nice character of or within this array, right? So you are going to get because you can count, this is the first one, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth. So nice character is A, right? Okay. So as you can see in this example, of course I can store this kind of a string array, okay, within a variable. But think about this. If I'm going to do something different compared to this example, okay, now you see the bracket, okay? Now you see the semicolon. Again, within the bracket, the semicolon represent change row or change line, right? That means I'm not going to write down something Alvin do like this. I'm going to write down Alvin, but I'm going to change the line. For the second row right here, I'm going to put Lu, L-U right here. Think about this. Do you think this kind of the command will work or not? If you do think this will work, just raise your hand. This exact example, A with the brackets right here, you see Alvin. Of course, it's more like a string, and you see the semicolon, change the row, and you see the loop right here. There's another command right here. You can see the second one. For the second one right here, you can see, again, it's pretty similar. You can see the alpha loop, but something different. Something is different. You can see the difference is something behind the loop. You see some spaces right there. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you to make the choice. You can only pick one of them. One of them is the correct command. Another one is not. You can only pick one, okay? So if you think the first one is the correct one, raise your hand. No one? You have to pick one, okay? And if you do think the second one is the correct one, raise your hand. Okay, so most of you, good. So why the first one is wrong? Let me show you. If I just copy this command into the command window right here, you will see some error message, error using, okay? When you see some description start with error, that means it doesn't work, okay? So you can see the issue right here is just describe that for the matrix or array, concatenation right here means you try to put two different lines together. You can suffer from this kind of error that this vertical, VRT represent vertical, this vertical concatenation doesn't work. Why? Because the dimension is wrong. You can see for the very first line, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters right here. But for a second line, you only see 1 and 2 characters right here. So there's no way to put two different arrays together to form a matrix. There's no way. But if you do this, something like this one, do you think it will work or not? Actually, it will work because for this kind of case, you simply put Lu directly after Alvin. You didn't change line, right? Because you are now using a comma rather than the semicolon. So there is no issue about different column right here because for this one, this is a 1x5 string array. This is 1x2. If you try to do the vertical concatenation, that means you are going to put two different arrays together with the vertical direction. That means you need the same column size. But for this case, no. And for this kind of example, this is more like the horizontal concatenation. That means you only need to ask the row number is the same. So 1x5, 1x2, they definitely have the same row dimension, right? Just one. So this will work. Okay, so think about this. And as you can see right here, to make this kind of the change line work right here, what I can do, I simply put, you can count 1, 2, 3. I try to put 3 more spaces right here to make two rows have the same number of the column, just 5, right? So 1x5, 1x5 right here, again 1x5 right here. So in this way, you will find out, okay, it works. It's more like a 2x5 character array, or sometimes we say string array right here. Okay, so this is the situation right here. So for this kind of example, you may find out, yes, I can store characters or strings within an MATLAB array. But the issue is that every single time when I try to change a row, I need to make sure the column of each row should be the same. And it's kind of the tragedy because every single time I need to count the space number. Let's just see another example right here. Okay, so think about this. Now I'm going to give the challenge right here. Think about this. Again, we have 2 choices right here. You just need to pick one. The very first one is like this. A equals, and you can see the brackets right here. That means I'm going to concatenate something together, right? I'm going to put something within an array, okay? You see, 25,000, it's a number. You can see it's a number because you didn't see the quotation marks, right? It's a number. Followed by a space. A space means it's just a different element. And you can see after the space, you can see a string. This is a text again, okay? This is the first command line. The second one is pretty similar, but we replace the space by the semicolon. Again, that means we are going to change the line. So now think about this. Which one do you think it will work? So if you are going to pick the first one, just raise your hand right now. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I can see your response. For the second line right here, if you think this is a right choice, just raise your hand. Okay, some of you. So now this question becomes a little bit tough right here. We don't know which one is right. So think about this. Let me try this for you. I can tell you that one of them is wrong. So just check it. Now, let's see the first one. It actually works, but you see something weird right here. Okay, something weird. It's not the 25,000. It's an issue, okay? But you didn't see the error message, right? Let's pick the second line. Okay, you see the error message. Right here, something wrong again. Right here, you can see why this one is wrong? You see exactly the same message compared to the previous example, because right now, for the very first line, you only have one element. This one element is 25,000. You cannot say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 character. No, because you didn't add the quotation marks right here. So it's more like a single element, single value right here. Okay, so in this case, one by one array, you're going to do the vertical concatenation with another one by, I don't know, what is this, 15 or something. Definitely more than one, right? You will see this kind of error message. For the very first one, because you are doing the horizontal concatenation, so everything is fine. But not really fine. You can see the answer is a little bit weird, because in this kind of situation, you are going to ask the MATLAB to concatenate a number with a character array. And it will make MATLAB so confused, because in this kind of situation, the normal array can only store the data, for example, like the numbers or the string or characters right here. It cannot combine both. If you are going to combine both, MATLAB will automatically transfer this number into a character. Following the rule that we mentioned before, ASCII transformation table, if you do remember that. Okay, so because my laptop right here, it doesn't have the Chinese character right here. But if you do try this on your computer, you may find out it will automatically transfer to a Chinese word. Maybe you can try this. That's right. It will become the Chinese word, han ho the han. So you may find out these 25,000, if you try to make it a character, it will automatically following the ASCII code and translate it into the Chinese character. Han, okay, it's a Chinese word. Okay, so anyway, so in this kind of situation, now you know, even there is no error message for the array concatenation, it still have the problem to put two different types of the information together, because MATLAB can only accept one type of the information within this kind of the array, okay? So try it now. If you can see hand right here, just raise your hand. So I can, yeah, I see many hand right here. Okay, good. So put down your hand. Very good. So now we can tell they definitely have some issues. I mean, the issues in using different types of the data within an array. So we need to solve it. We need to find a better solution. And I have to say we deserve better solution, right? Okay. So now you can see this is another example. Now I have several different names. Maybe this is a patient name. You are doing a study, and this is the patient name. Now you can see 5 different patient names right here: Debbie, Andy, Jay, Jolene, and Selena. But anyway, if you are going to put all these 5 names together within a single array, what you can do? Now, you just remember what teacher said. I'm a good student. I'm always focused, pay attention to my to the teacher's class. So I know I need to put space or spaces after the characters to make sure that each row would have the same number of the column. So right now you can see right here, okay, it's pretty crazy. You can see after Davy, I put an extra space right here. But for Andy, because you only have 4 characters right here, you need to put 2 more spaces right here. So I'm so kind, I'm so sweet, I make a table for you. So you can see 1 space, 2 spaces, 3 spaces. It's just pretty crazy. You need to always count to make sure the columns are the same, right? So in this kind of situation, you will get the result pretty similar like this. It's more like the 5 by 6 character array right here. Okay, but again, this is impractical. This is not right, because every single time I need to count a space, that is stupid, right? We don't think this is a good choice. So can we do this in a better way? Okay, so I'm going to ask you, don't ask why, but I'm going to ask you, just follow the slides, try to put down 5 command lines into the command window. The very first one is simply like this one, list. And I use the uppercase for L, so just please follow me, okay? List with the parentheses, and you put 1 inside. List parentheses 1, okay? And you see the period right here. And after the period, you see the name right here, okay? And then I'm going to assign the David for the very first line. For these 5 different lines, just remember one thing. You don't need to put an extra space after these English names, okay? You don't need to do that. Just see how magic it is. You don't need to bother from the space or the column size. You just feel free to put in different English names with different lengths into this list array, okay? So do it now. Once you finish this practice, in the workspace, you can find the list variable and double click on it. Tell me what do you see, okay? Yeah. So basically you can find out within the workspace. Workspace tells you this variable is like a structure array, right? Just let me do this for you so you can see what this boy is talking about. Okay, so let me do this. I'm not going to type manually. I'm going to just simply copy all the command right here. Sorry, I'm a lazy man. So now you can see list. After you finish whole 5 lines right here, now you can see the list within your workspace, right? You can see right here, this is a list. And you will immediately find out for the value information within the workspace, this is more like a 1 by 5. You can see this is the abbreviation for the structure array. So this is not a double array. If you simply put something like this, or I can do this for you. For example, I use the matrix generator. You all learn the ones and zeros, right? If I'm going to put this right here. So you can see in this kind of situation, all the zeros inside, right? All the numbers inside. So basically you will see this is more like a 1 by 100 double. Again, double is kind of the precision that allow you to put in not only the integers, but also the floating numbers inside, okay? But anyway, you can see the difference. List is something like the structure array, but the usual array, it would be double array or character array. Okay, depends on what you input. And now if you double click on this list, the variable right here, you will immediately see the result. And just like what we mentioned before, now you have the chance. You don't need to consider anything about the space. You don't need to put additional or extra space right here. You can immediately see under this name column right here, I can see 5 different names with different lengths. And as you can see right here, there's always a quotation marks right here. That means they are all character arrays, okay, with different lengths right here. So for this simple example, you will immediately get the idea. The structure array is pretty flexible. That means you don't need to care about the column. You can easily put different lengths. I mean, the different character array with different lengths together within this kind of array, okay? But now we are going to learn something more. We need to learn something more. Let me just give you another situation, okay? For example, if you are going to do the study, you will easily to save a very complex data set, or maybe we can say comprehensive. That means many. That means complex data set right here. Let me just give you the example. For example, you are doing a study. You collect the data from 30 normal controls, or sometimes we say healthy controls, healthy subjects right here. But also this study, you are going to compare the patient data with the normal case, right? So you will also have 30 patients, for example, with stroke, okay? This data set includes 60 patient data. Okay, it's pretty huge, but of course, some people may say it's not that huge because when we say big data or huge data, we can easily get a patient number over 100 or even over 1,000. So that is really big. But even for this case, you have 60 patients data on hand. So now think more about this. We are going to store many different information because this is a practical issue, right? We will have the name, patient name, maybe in English or maybe in short initials. Like for my name, I am Chia-Feng Lu, right? I will simply put CFL as my English name. Okay, so you will have the name. You can put in Chinese or even the English character. I think for MATLAB, they can the MATLAB can do this both way. Okay, you will have the ID. It can be anything. It can simply be the numbers, but it can also be something like the character array, because you can start with an English letter, like the ID may start with S, A, F, represent different region within Taiwan, right? So anyway, for this scenario, I can tell you maybe in this case, we have name and ID. Both of them are string array, okay, or character arrays, okay? But for the second type of data, I have the data about the age, gender, height, and weight. They are all numbers, okay? 40 years old. Gender, we normally put 1 for male, 0 for female, okay? Or maybe you can go for 1 or 2. We put numbers right here. Height, maybe 180 centimeter. Weight, 80 kilogram or something, okay? So you get the numbers right here. But for this third category right here and the fourth category right here, you see, I may have a big matrix for your actual study data right here. For example, I have so-called pre-training data set and post-training data set. Because I'm dealing with the patient data, stroke right here. So maybe I'm going to give the treatment to the patient. So before the treatment and after the treatment, I'd like to compare the difference of this kind of data set, right? So I have something called pre-train and post-train. This train can be treatment or it can be rehabilitation or something. After school, we can do a lot of things to help patient, right? So you can see this data set may be pretty huge. You can see it is not simply the numbers. It's a number array because not a single number right here, 40, 102, 180, and 80 right here. I may have a matrix right here. This matrix, for example, can be 8 by 450. Okay, it can be that big. So now, for the original idea, we may need separated different variables to save all the information, right? But right now, we can simply use this structure array. Maybe 1 or 2 structure array. One structure array for normal controls. Another structure array for patients. And I can save all the information within this kind of a structure array. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to ask all of you, you will find this spatial file within the folder that I provided to you today, and my materials underline L5. Try to find this MATLAB file, example structure.mat. You can see this is not .m. .m means this is the script. This is the code file, right? But for mat, M-A-T means this is the MATLAB data file. Okay, so basically it stores some metrics, some data within the file. So what we are going to do, you are going to import this data matrix into the MATLAB. There are 2 ways to do this. The very first way, just do so-called drag and drop. Let me show you. Just clean everything. Okay, clean everything. Okay, so the very first thing is you can find this example structure.mat, right? What you can do, what is a drag and drop? Drag and come to the workspace, right? Drop, that means release your left button of the mouse, release it. Then you will immediately see something coming to the workspace. This is the very first way that you can do this. The second way you can do is using this load function. Right after what you did, drag and drop, not only you can see 2 variables within the workspace, you can also see this command line automatically generated by MATLAB. Because what you did, drag and drop, is equivalent to this command line. So you can learn what is load. Load is kind of the MATLAB function that can help you import MATLAB file. Okay, you can load a file name. So when you do the drag and drop, MATLAB will automatically generate this command line right here. So it's the same thing. So let me show you. If I try to clean everything again, but I'm going to use the command history to perform this command line, what would happen? You will get exactly the same result because this is a function of load. Okay, so you have two different ways. You can get the data from so-called mat file. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to do it right now. After you import this data set, I'm going to ask you again, please just try to double click on these two variables and tell me what you can find within these two different structure array, okay? Just do it now. Again, I just want to emphasize that you have to learn the usage of load. Because for the midterm computer test, I'm going to give you a mat file. You need to know how to import or how to load the mat file to get the data that you need to use for the computer test, okay? There is a very important thing that right there. Again, you need to put this file within the current directory. So you can directly code the file name. There is another way to do so. If the file is actually located in different directory, not in the current directory, what can you do? You can put the full name of the file. I mean the full path full name of the file. Let me show you this. As you can see right here, actually the full path for this MI materials L5 in my computer is this long, right? So there is another way you can do so. You can simply put something like, no, I cannot do this, sorry. Because my computer doesn't support the Chinese character right now. I didn't put the Chinese, the package within my computer. But if your computer does support the Chinese character, you will get the right result. But in this case, you can see I start from the drive, right? I give every single layer of the folders. So this is so-called absolute or full path of the file. So in this case, your file can be put anywhere in your computer. Can be put anywhere in your computer. Only if you give the full name. For example, it may be located within the C drive or something. You can just find the file right here. But make sure that your computer do support the Chinese character. But my laptop, unfortunately, doesn't support this kind of character. Anyway, so just remember these things, okay? Okay, so now let's just take a look about the two structural arrays that we get, right? The first one is NC. Of course, this represents the normal controls. ST represents stroke. That means the patient group, right? Okay, so this is stroke. So you can see now the size of the structural array for NC is 1 by 30. For stroke group, it's 1 by 30. So basically, I stored 30 patients' data or 30 subjects' data within NC as well as within the stroke group right here. So now we double click on it. So now you can see the information. We got so many different information, right? So now I can see when I double click on it, you will see something pretty similar to the Excel file, right? If you did use the Excel before, it was a pretty similar idea right here. But you will find out this is much better compared to the Excel. Because right now, for example, I can see the information right here. I see the name, I see the age, I see the gender, I see the height, weight, pre-data, and post-data, right? I can immediately identify I have 30 normal control. Actually, this is a name, so it can be anything, any string. Like my name, CF right? So you can put anything you want in string, okay? But for the second column right here, you see the age. And they are all numbers, right? You didn't see the quotation marks. They are all numbers. Gender, again, 1 for male, 0 for female. Again, all in numbers. Height, you see the number. Of course, you may ask, I don't think that we have the ability to actually measure the height in such high precision right here. I think this is not right? Normally, you can only say 170.5 or something, but it's pretty hard to say 9523. Yeah, because this data is a fake one. It's just generated by me, okay? This is not the true data. But I just want to show you this example. And pretty similar, you can see the weight right here, okay? And the most interesting thing right here, just take a look. You have two different columns named as the pre-training data set. Simply in short, pre-data and post-data. And now you can see within each element, each entry right here, it's more like an 8 by 450 doubles. Now what we can do right here, double click on it. You will see, wow, we do have an array like the 8 by 450. We did have these things, right? You can see 450 columns right here. Okay, so let's go back to this one. Now for this array, this structure array, even it simply looks like the 1 by 30, but actually we have so complex data inside, right? We can actually store all types of data within this single structure array. Okay. So it's pretty similar things that you can double click on the ST. Let me do this. I just try to put the two things together so you can compare. Okay, so let me enlarge this. Now, for the left-hand side, you have the NC data set. For the right-hand side, you have the stroke data set, right? So now you can see different information right here. Okay, so again, I just want to give you the impression structure array is very, very useful. Okay, it can help you to store all kinds of data simply within an array. Okay. So I just mentioned this. So you can see now we can store different data formats. I mean, characters. I mean, numbers or even number array, right? For this example right here, we actually store a number array within the structure. Okay, so even we double click on this, I can see the details right here. It's an 8 by 450 double array right here. Of course, you can double click on other elements right here. You will see different data set, okay? So basically, I try to use this plot to show you the structure of the structure array, okay? This is the name of the structure array. So right now, we have two different variables named as the NC and ST, right? So you can simply replace the data by the NC or ST. And under this, for example, if I only have 3 subjects inside, I will get a 1 by 3 structure array. I will get this size, right? But right now, I have 30 subjects within one single variable. So it's more like the 1 by 30. But for each subject or each patient right here, you will see 7 different items: name, age, gender, height, weight, pre-data, and post-data right here. So I'd like to introduce a new terminology right here, field. Okay, actually, we didn't say item right here. For structure array, we would say under this structure array, we have 7 different fields labeled by the name, age, gender, height, weight, pre-data, and post-data right here. So if you take a very careful look at the MATLAB right here, you may find out, let me just close one. Maybe I just need 1. Okay, just take a look right here. The word is pretty small, but I think you can read it on your screen. 1 by 30 structure with 7 fields. Now you need to know fields means columns right here. But this is not real column, just 7 different categories, 7 different information, 7 different items or something. But for variable, we name it as the fields. Okay, so we have 7 fields. Name is one of the fields. Age is one of the fields. Okay? So do remember these things. Field is a special word for structure. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you, try to create a structure array. You did this before. You tried to create a list, right? But now I'm going to ask you create a different field. For this example, can you tell me, all of you, can you tell me how many fields do I have for this data structure array? How many fields do I have? This is 1, right? The very first field is name. This is the second field, age. This is the third field, data. Okay. So for this case, actually, I will have 3 fields. But of course, you see 4 fields because I just crop the imaging, because I also have the post data. But right here, I only ask you to create 3 different fields. And there is something you never see before. This one, okay? RAND. This is pretty similar to the zeros matrix generator. But when you use this one, it will generate a random number rather than all zeros. Okay, so RAND represents random. It is a random matrix generator. And you just put in the size. For example, I'd like to get a random number array with the size of the 8 by 450. So this is the way that you can generate your own structure array. So try to do it right now. Try to key in these 3 lines and think about this, what I'm doing right now. You can see data is a structure name. But when I use the period right here, that means I'm going to declare, or I'm going to use a specific field. Name is one of the field. Age is another field. Predata also another one, right? Just try to do it by yourself, okay? Once you finish these 3 lines, again, double click on the data in the workspace and just observe what you can see, okay? Okay, I'm going to do this with you. So let me do the same thing. Okay, I think most of you can finish these 3 lines within just 1 minute. And you will see the same result as you can see on the screen right here, or even the picture that I cropped on this slide. So now you can see it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different compared to what we see within the NC and the ST structure arrays, right? Okay, so let me get the control. Take a look. What is the difference? You can see for NC, it's pretty straightforward that each column contains different information, right? But now for data that you just created, you may see I can only see name right here, age right here, predata right here. So very first things, the orientation, the direction is different, right? For the NC and the ST, basically each column is one type of the information, right? But for data, now it's more like, I cannot say row because this is not the matrix, but it's pretty similar in this way, pretty much like this way. Okay, so I have to say, because you only have one or single subject data within, so MATLAB will choose this kind of the view method or presentation method for you. But once your data increase the subject number to 2 or more than 2, you will immediately see pretty similar structure for the NC and compared to the NC and the ST, okay? So let me do this. So what you are going to do right here, right now, I'm going to ask you to add in second subject's data right here. So right now, you can skip the first part because you have already input the first subject, right? I have to tell you for the very first subject, you can omit this one, you can omit this. Because when you get nothing within the data, MATLAB will automatically put everything in the very first slot, in the very first position. That means the first subject, right? But start from the second subject, you definitely need to put these things. This is very important. Without this, MATLAB will overwrite the very first subject's data because you didn't assign the position. You didn't say this is the second subject. So if you always go for data dot name equals to something, MATLAB will always replace the data for the very first patient, okay, or very first subject. So for the second part right here, I'm going to ask you to key in these 3 lines. Okay, you can do it right now. So this is the way that you can key in the data for the second subject. Okay, so do it now. So again, after you key in these 3 lines, you can just double click on the data again and see what would happen, okay? Okay, I'm just going to give you the 20 seconds. You can do this very quickly. Again, you don't need to type everything again. Just use the command history. Type it the up arrow, right? Then you just modify NC01. You simply need to change this parenthesis 2, and then you only need to change 02, right? You don't need to do everything again. So following the same idea, I think you can easily create the data for the third subject, right? You can simply replace 2 by 3. Even for 4, 5, 6. I think if you can do 2, you can do 30, you can do 100, right? So try it by yourself. You can create more than 2, right? After you key in these 3 lines, you will immediately see the structure of the data. I mean, this is not a real structure. It's simply the way that the MATLAB display the structure array would be a little bit different. It will change to the same way that we can observe that within the NC and ST. So basically, if you have more than one subject within the structure array, you will see the presentation method is a little bit different right here. But now you can imagine, I can also add a different field right here. For example, not only age, I can also add in a gender, right? For example, I'm going to do this right now. If I'm going to assign the gender, for example, it is a male. So I can put, for example, a new, you can see I don't have the gender. I don't have the field of gender right here, right now, right? Okay, I should take back the screen. Right now, if you follow my slide, we don't have the gender. We don't have the field of gender, right? But if I'm going to key in this line, again, I assign the gender to be male for the second subject, right? I mean, 1 for male, 0 for female. So I'm going to assign gender, a new field for the second subject right here. So what would happen? You will see something like this one. Now I can see a new field is generated by MATLAB, right? Actually by me, I have to say. Gender right here, you can see the number 1 assigned to the second subject, right? But for the first subject, I have to say, if you try to generate a new field, everyone should have this field. So you can see because we didn't assign any value for the gender field of the first subject, right? So MATLAB will automatically give you an empty matrix right here. So you can see empty matrix right here. Until you assign something for the very first subject, for example, the first subject is a female, so I'm going to put 0 right here. And again, I need to modify the position to 1 because this is for first subject. Now, once I press the enter, you can just look at this element. It will become a 0 right here. Okay, so this is a way that you can actually add a new field. Okay, but for subjects that you didn't actually assign the value for the specific field, MATLAB will generate the empty array for it. Okay. Okay, good. So I think now you know how to generate the structure array. You can see now the size is like the 1 by 2, right? Because now you have the second subject. You have 2 subjects within this data array. Okay. And actually, we do have another way to create this structure array. There is a built-in function called structure. Okay, you can help it. Again, you can help it. When you help it, you will see the description or the usage for this structure. And this is one of the example. If I'm going to assign the third subject's data into this data array, you don't really need to do the same thing like what you did right here. What you can do right here, you can use this structure function. So take a look right here. You are going to use this structure function, and basically this structure function will follow a rule to be so-called pair input. You can take a look. This is the first pair. This is the second pair. This is the third pair. And for every first element for each pair, it represents the field name. So now you can see I'm going to assign the value of the name. This is a field name. Age, this is a field name. Per data, again, this is a field name. And the second input for each pair right here, this is the value for each field. So now for the third subject, the name field would be NC03. For the age field, it will be 83. For the predata, again, I will use the random generator to generate of 8 by 450 random numbers right here. Okay, so what I can do right here, again, I'm going to simply copy it. So just take a very close look right here. Once I key in this, you will immediately see I can also add in the third subject's information right here. So let me press the enter. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Because I add an extra field right here. So you need to assign the final one. Because in my slide, I only have 3 fields, right? But right now, I need to assign this one. So I can put it this way, okay? So do remember when you are using the structure function right here, you need to make sure all the fields are covered. Okay, covered by all the inputs. You need to assign every single thing inside, okay? So in this way, this elegant way, okay, I won't say easy because it looks very difficult. It looks very complex right here. But you can use single command line to accomplish what you just did using 3 or 4 different lines right here. And you can learn this structure by simply help it, and you will see the details, okay? So I'm not going to ask you to do now, but this is kind of the assignment that you can do after the class, okay? So this is basically the way that you can create the structure array. So the next issue would be, if I do have the structure array on hand, can I also do the so-called get value and set value? We try to apply the similar idea of the index. We do practice a lot for the index of a certain matrix. For example, if I'm going to access or get the value for the ninth element of a matrix, I will simply use like the A with the parentheses of 9, right? But for the structure array, what should I do? Okay, so you can see the example right here. For example, if I'm going to get, you can see I'm going to get the value for the very first subject right here, right? This is the first subject. I'm going to get the value of this predata field. And we all know that predata contains the number arrays like the 8 by 450, right? If I'm going to just get a single value right here, it's more like the 6th row and the 3rd column right here. I just want to get this single value. What is the way we can do this, right? So I just give you the hint. You need to use both index and the field name to specify data location, okay? So I think it's pretty straightforward. What you have to do is you need to start with the data. I think I have the line, right? Oh, right here. Yeah, you can simply start with the data. Okay, this is the structure array, the name of the structure array. Of course, you need to specify. You are going to load the data from this structure array. So you start with the data, and of course, you need to clarify which subject's data you are going to read or load, right? So you pick the first subject right here, and then use this period right here. Period means I'm going to access or get the value from a specific field, okay? So now after this period right here, you can see you need to put the field name. So predata is the field name right here, predata. And then once you come to this part, we can show the example right here. If you go for this part, try to see what you can see right here. Once I press the enter, we will see, you can see the answer is an 8 by 450 double array right here. Okay, if you simply go for this line, okay, you will get this 8 by 450 double array right here. Okay, so if you're going to get a specific value for the specific row and a column, what you need to do, just do the normal thing that you usually do for the matrix, right? So then you add in the row and the column index right here, like the 6th row, 3rd column right here, you will get the value. Okay, just try it now. And you may find out that your value is a little bit different from me. Don't worry about this because this is a random generator. So you may get a different value compared to mine, right? But what you can do is you can double click on this data 1 period pre-data. You can just make sure that you get the right value. So you can go for this sixth row and the third column right here. You can simply make sure whether the value is the right one, 0.0357. So I get the right number, right? So you can check it on your own computer because you will definitely get a different value. Okay, you will get a different value. Okay, so do it now. Just try to practice this. So I think you all can find the next example. It's just simply what I mentioned. Whether you can get the value from the first object, the pre-data, I just specified a specific range right here. And for the second patient right here, I also specified a different range for the pre-data. So maybe you can try. I do know that you have the answers on hand because you have the PPT slides. But the thing about this by yourself, do not just take a peek or look on the answer. Just try to think about by yourself. If you know how to get a value, now think about this. Can you set a value? Can you rewrite the value within this part? Can you set a value? Okay, now you are going to assign the value to this region. Can you do that? Not only get the value, you can also do set value thing, right? Now you need to use the equal sign because this represents a sign. So now try to replace the values within this region, for example, by 100. Just try whether you can do this, okay? I'm going to ask all of you to replace the region that I'm currently displayed on the screen. Just replace all the numbers to 100, okay? Can you do that? So basically you can see this is the answer, right? We just take one example right here. For example, this one. This is the way that you can access the pre-data within the second to fifth row, third to fourth columns right here, right? This is the way that we can do so. So I think the idea is pretty similar that we can apply it for the second one anyway. But now I'm asking you to assign or set the specific value to this region, right? So basically you need to use something like the equal sign, right? So the most easy way to do so, just simply write down something like this, right? You can omit the semicolon. Just right here, I think just for the first part, just go for this one. For this one, you will simply replace all the value within this region by 100, right? So you can actually set the value. So let me do this for you. So if I'm going to do this, just copy this part. Okay. So what you can do right here, I can just use the equal sign to assign a new value. So let's take a look on, I think it will rewrite this part and this part, should be this part, right? So I'm going to rewrite the number to 100, right? Okay, but normally we won't do this because that means you are going to rewrite your data. Normally we don't do this. We simply get the value from your data. But in some particular case, we may do this, okay? But normally we don't do this. But I just want you guys to think about this. We can apply everything we learned about the index of the matrix. No matter get value or set value, we can do that for the structure array, okay? And I'm going to tell you a tip or a hint. Take a look at right here. If you simply forget about how to access this region, what I can do right here, just take a peek on here. You will see something right here. Okay, data 1 period pre-data. This is kind of the hint that MATLAB is telling you if you want to access, you want to get the value from this matrix, this is a way you should put in your command line, right? Okay, so don't remember you have the tip right here. Okay, you will get this matrix. Then you can do the indexing right here. Okay. So basically, there are four useful functions for the structured array. For example, you can use this is. I have to say this is more like is structure. Okay, you can use this function to ask MATLAB whether the input variable is a structured array or not. Okay, I think this is straightforward. Sometimes you just need to check these kind of things. So for example, I have an answer right here. Okay, I think answer is more like ANS, right? It's more like a double array, not the structured array. So when I am asking something like this, what would be the result? I have to say you will get 1 or 0. 1 represents true, 0 represents false. Or a simple way, 1 represents yes, 0 represents no. Okay? So for this case, answer definitely not a structured array, right? So you will get 0 right here. But for something like the data that you just created, you will get 1 because it is a structured array. Okay, so this is a function that can help you to understand whether this is a structured array. And fields is also very useful. It can help you to know the field name, all the field names within the input structure array. So for this kind of case, it will tell you you have the name, you have the age, you have the predata and then gender under the structure array. Okay. You can also use the other similar things, for example, the is field. So you can ask specifically whether there is a field under the structure array. And also you can use this one, RM represent remove. If you don't want any field within this data array, what you can do, let me show you. You can simply use the remove field. You can input, the very first thing is you need to input a structure array right here, and then you ask MATLAB to remove, I don't like gender, I don't need this field right here. So I'm asking MATLAB to remove gender field from the data. Okay, so I'm going to get a new data, for example, like data 2. Okay, so let's compare this. For this kind of answer, now you have seen there is another data 2 right here. If you compare data 2 with the data, okay, they are pretty similar. However, data 2, you don't have the gender field, right? Because I simply removed it, right? So you can see data 2, no gender. Data with gender, right? So this is the function, okay? So there are some useful functions. You can just think about these and maybe you can practice by yourself. They are very useful, okay? So basically, I'd like to give a small conclusions for the very first part. I think structured array has the benefits that you can, actually include or contain a huge data set within a single array. So this will give you the benefit to easily understand the structure or access the data. For example, I have 30 normal subjects, but I can simply use one NC array to contain everything I need, right? So it's very easy to clear, to save, or to load these kind of things. I don't actually need to load, for example, 500 different variables. I simply need one variable to contain everything I need. And with this kind of a structured array, you can easy to categorize variables. For example, if there is a structured array named as the data, I immediately know everything under this data. For example, data dot predata, data dot post data. They are all associated with some data that are collected. But for file, I can put something like the file dot path, file dot name. I think they are all related to the file that you can find within your computer. So you can use the structured array to differentiate or to categorize what you need. Okay, so I think this is a benefit for the single structured array. You can store everything inside, and it can help you to understand the structure or categorize the variable you have. Okay.